There's a subtle belief that quietly steers the lives of most individuals. It's not openly discussed, nor is it plainly visible, yet it dictates your earnings, your lifestyle, and even the scope of your dreams. This belief keeps talented individuals feeling stuck, while others seemingly ordinary flourish. And perhaps without you even realizing it, this very notion whispers to you daily, "This isn't for you." Stay with me, because if you grasp this concept by the end, the way you perceive yourself will be fundamentally transformed. There's a silent emotion that stifles prosperity before it even has a chance to arrive. It's not a lack of opportunity, nor talent, nor effort. It's the profound conviction that you don't deserve it. It manifests as tiny, almost imperceptible thoughts. You work diligently, yet feel guilty asking for more. You dream big but swiftly correct yourself, insisting you must be realistic. You witness someone else thriving, and instead of feeling inspired, you experience a strange unease, as if that success isn't meant for you. I understand this feeling because I lived with it for many years. When I was young, I didn't see myself as someone destined for growth. I saw myself as someone just trying to get by. I dropped out of school early, taking jobs that demanded little thought, just physical labor and repetition. Factories, gas stations, whatever came my way. And the most perilous part wasn't the work itself. It was the internal dialogue I maintained daily. I told myself that was the most I could ever hope for in life, not because anyone told me, but because I accepted that idea as truth. And here's something few people realize. The feeling of unworthiness doesn't shout, it whispers. It tells you it's safer to remain exactly where you are, that wanting more is risky, that prospering might alienate people, invite criticism, or create responsibilities you might not be able to shoulder. How many times have you put off an important step because you thought, what if I fail? Or even worse, what if I succeed and don't know how to handle it? Psychological research indicates that a significant number of individuals associate money with emotional conflict. For many, money is linked to family arguments, the fear of losing everything, guilt over having more than others, or persistent anxiety. Consequently, the mind unconsciously begins to reject anything it associates with pain. It's not that someone doesn't desire prosperity. It's that they've come to believe that thriving comes at an emotional cost that is simply too high. I vividly recall how this manifested in my own life. Even when opportunities arose, I'd find a way not to follow through. It was as if something inside me was saying, stick to what you know. Don't draw attention. Don't leave your comfort zone. And that place, however uncomfortable, felt familiar. The mind often favors the familiar over what might be better. There's a fundamental truth that changes everything once you finally grasp it. Your external life is a direct reflection of the self-image you hold. If you perceive yourself as ordinary, limited, or undeserving, you will inadvertently sabotage every chance for prosperity. You'll delay decisions, settle for less, and choose the shortest, safest path. Not because you're lazy, but because you're acting in congruence with the internal image you carry. Many people mistakenly believe they need to earn more money first before they can feel worthy. But it never unfolds in that sequence. First comes the sense of worthiness. Then comes the outcome. The mind doesn't follow external logic. It follows identity. And identity is forged through the repetition of thoughts, not by chance. Have you ever noticed how some people always seem to almost make it? They nearly get the raise, almost close the deal, come close to transforming their lives. This isn't bad luck, it's the invisible boundary of worthiness at play. Individuals will go precisely as far as they believe they can, and no further. I learned the hard way that no one was coming to rescue me from this internal prison. As long as I saw myself as small, life would treat me as small. Once I began to challenge that self-perception, things started to shift. Not magically, but inevitably. Because when you change what you believe you deserve, you change what you accept, what you tolerate, and what you pursue. Internalize this deeply. You are not where you are due to a lack of capability. You are where you are because that is the level you have, until now, allowed yourself to inhabit. And the moment you question that internal permission, something begins to reorganize within you. It's not chaos, it's clarity. And clarity always precedes prosperity. Everything begins to transform the instant you realize your self-image isn't who you truly are, but who you've been conditioned to be. I spent many years believing stability equated to security, even though I woke up daily feeling like I was living a life smaller than I was capable of. When I worked as a firefighter, outwardly everything seemed fine, but internally there was a constant restlessness, a voice telling me that wasn't my ultimate potential. Yet I ignored it, because the image I held of myself simply didn't align with prosperity. Self-image operates much like a thermostat. If you attempt to earn more, grow more, or live better than your programmed setting, something within you recalibrates everything back. You procrastinate, doubt yourself, postpone actions, and conjure up excuses. It's not a lack of discipline, it's internal consistency. The mind invariably protects its established identity, even when that identity is restrictive. Studies on human behavior reveal that most people repeat the same financial patterns for decades, regardless of salary increases or fresh opportunities. This occurs because external change is unsustainable without an internal transformation. That's why some individuals acquire more money only to quickly lose it all, while others experience steady, predictable growth. When I began consciously working on how I perceived myself, something intriguing transpired. My decisions became more resolute. I stopped seeking permission to grow. I stopped settling for less than I knew was possible. And this didn't demand brute force, it required alignment. If this resonates with you so far, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This simple action signals that this type of content matters and helps this message continue to reach individuals who are stuck at this very juncture in life. Etch this deeply into your mind. When you alter the image you hold of yourself, the world has no option but to respond differently. Prosperity doesn't originate in your bank account, it begins in the internal mirror you consult daily, even if unconsciously. Ignoring this principle exacts a silent yet relentless toll. It's not an immediate punishment. It's a daily erosion that slowly drains your energy, hope, and time. You wake up tired, even after sleeping. You work hard, but feel like you're perpetually stuck. And you start to believe this exhaustion is normal, that this frustration is just part of adult life. It isn't. This is the price of living out of alignment with who you could truly be. I've witnessed this unfold repeatedly with competent, intelligent individuals brimming with potential. They would even achieve good results at certain points, but because their minds weren't prepared to sustain it, everything would slip through their fingers. Money would come and go. Opportunities would appear and be squandered, relationships would fray, and gradually, a dangerous narrative would emerge. There's no point in trying. Research on emotional well-being and finances indicates that chronic financial stress is directly correlated with anxiety, insomnia, irritability, and a loss of purpose. When someone feels perpetually chasing but never quite arriving, their brain enters survival mode. In this state, there's no long-term vision, no creativity, no expansion, only repetition. There are public figures who illustrate this clearly. Individuals who achieved fame, wealth, and recognition very quickly, but who, lacking a solid internal structure, eventually lost everything. It wasn't a lack of opportunity, it was an absence of internal alignment. When identity doesn't keep pace with external results, collapse is merely a matter of time. I myself felt this risk when I started seeing my life transform. The temptation to revert to the familiar is immense. Your mind tries to convince you that growing too much is perilous, that it's better to slow down, to hide, not to draw attention. This is the old pattern desperately trying to survive. If you yield, you pay with stagnation. If you confront it, you grow. Here's a truth few people accept. Choosing not to change is also a choice, and often the most expensive one of all. It costs you years. It costs you unlived dreams. It costs you the persistent feeling that something has been left behind. If you don't consciously decide to elevate your mindset, life will do it for you through pain. And pain is an effective teacher, but an unnecessary one when you learn through awareness. Prosperity isn't merely about earning more money. It's about ceasing to pay the invisible price of a life lived below your true potential. Reprogramming your sense of worthiness isn't a single event. It's a daily process of aligning what you think, feel, and do. When I finally allowed myself to embrace a grander image of who I could be, I realized I didn't need to fight against life. I simply needed to stop resisting it. The cleaning business I launched initially didn't grow because I was the smartest person in the room. It grew because I stopped viewing myself as someone destined to earn a small income. Once that internal decision was made, my actions naturally followed suit. I negotiated more assertively, set higher standards, and declined deals I would have previously accepted out of fear. The results came as a natural consequence. There's a straightforward principle at play here. The external world organizes itself around your internal standard. When you elevate that standard, anything that doesn't align with it begins to fall away. The people, habits, routines, and even opportunities that once kept you small cease to make sense. This isn't loss, it's adjustment. Behavioral science confirms that the brain forms new connections when you repeat an idea with emotion and consistency. That's why simply stating something once doesn't work. But living the idea every single day transforms who you are. Prosperity demands familiarity. You need to feel comfortable with the notion of living well, earning well, and receiving well. Here's a practical and powerful challenge. For 30 days, write daily about how you act, decide, and position yourself when you see yourself as a prosperous person. It's not about fantasy, it's about identity. Notice how small choices shift. What you accept, what you refuse, how you speak about money, how you react to opportunities. By the end of this period, you won't just be thinking differently, you'll be operating on another level. Keep this with you. You don't need to convince the world of anything. You need to align yourself internally with what you wish to live. When you allow yourself to prosper, life cooperates. Not because you asked, but because you finally put yourself on the right frequency to receive. Prosperity isn't a prize, it's a response. There's a factor that shapes your prosperity more than talent, effort, or luck, and almost no one pays attention to it. The mental environment you inhabit every single day. I'm not just talking about the people around you, but the ideas you consume, the conversations you accept, and the images you replay in your mind without realizing it. This environment is programming you constantly, whether you want it to or not. I learned this when I realized that for many years, I was surrounded by people who only spoke of limits. Limits on money, limits on time, limits on possibilities. They weren't bad people, they were conditioned people. And as long as I remained in that same mental field, my results didn't change. The human mind is highly impressionable. It absorbs patterns like a sponge. If you live in an environment where the majority complain, blame the system, and believe that prosperity is an exception, you start to act exactly like that majority, even if you think you're different. Studies on social behavior show that individuals tend to adjust their income patterns, ambition, and lifestyle to the average of the people they spend the most time with. This isn't coincidence, it's conditioning. The brain seeks belonging before it seeks growth. That's why many people sabotage their own progress simply to avoid feeling out of place. I experienced this firsthand when I decided to step outside the familiar pattern. There was discomfort, criticism, and even silence from some people. But alongside that, clarity emerged. I began to choose more carefully what I listened to, what I read, and with whom I discussed money and life. And something quickly changed. My ideas grew bigger, my decisions became firmer, and my tolerance for mediocrity simply vanished. See how this applies today. How many hours each day do you consume news that reinforces fear, scarcity, and insecurity? How many conversations revolve around bills, debts, and problems, but never solutions? This isn't neutral. This is training your mind to expect little from life. And life responds exactly to that expectation. A phrase for you to take with you. You don't live in the world as it is. You live in the world as you've been conditioned to perceive it. There are clear examples of public figures who radically changed their results when they shifted their mental environment, beginning to associate with different ideas, mentors, and role models. They didn't become smarter overnight. They simply began to operate in a higher mental field. Here's a simple yet profoundly transformative challenge. For 7 days, be extremely selective about what enters your mind. Pay attention to what you listen to, what you read, what you watch. Avoid negative conversations, complaints, and any content that fuels fear, scarcity, and anxiety as much as possible. It might seem simple, but its impact is gigantic. We are constantly exposed to information that not only doesn't help us, but keeps us trapped in a cycle of limited, self-sabotaging thought. Instead, actively seek out ideas, books, videos, and podcasts that expand your vision regarding money, personal growth, and the infinite possibilities before you. Feed your mind with examples of people who overcame adversity, stories of triumph, and content that demonstrates how success is achievable, even in the most difficult situations. The key here is to replace fear and doubt with a mindset of abundance, confidence, and expansion. Challenge yourself to pursue a vision of a prosperous and abundant future every single day. Observe carefully how your emotional state begins to shift. At first, it might feel uncomfortable as you'll be breaking from your mental comfort zone. But as the days pass, you'll start to notice that your mood improves, your energy elevates, and you feel more empowered to make decisions, to act. It's as if you're reprogramming your mind to operate on a new frequency. More importantly, observe how your ideas begin to reorganize. What once seemed impossible now starts to feel possible. Those seemingly insurmountable obstacles transform into challenges you're eager to face. Your vision regarding money, life, and the opportunities around you begins to expand. You start to realize that the world around you reflects what you hold within. And when your internal field is fertile, opportunities start to appear more frequently, more naturally. Prosperity doesn't begin with what you have externally, but with what you believe internally. It begins when your internal environment stops being toxic, full of limiting beliefs, fear, and self-sabotage, and starts to be fertile, full of possibilities, confidence, and a vision of abundance. If you cultivate this new mental environment, prosperity will no longer be a distant possibility, but a constantly growing reality. Try this challenge. Watch how your world begins to change as you change your mind. You don't need to change the world around you immediately. You need to change the mental field in which you operate. When that happens, the external world starts to adjust almost effortlessly. If this resonated with you on some level, now think of someone specific who needs to hear this message. Someone who works hard but still believes deep down that prosperity isn't for them. Share this video with that person. Sometimes a single idea arrives at the exact right moment and changes an entire trajectory. Thank you for being here, for dedicating your time and attention to this growth. I'll see you in the next video, where we'll continue expanding what you've already begun to awaken within yourself.